Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tex Homer. That's Coach Dub. Eric's battling his internet right now. We'll see if he's able to make it. But until then, we're going to talk recruiting anyways, which is Charlie's specialty. So we aren't tripping. Roaster, good morning. AR, good morning to you as well. All right, let's start. First things first. We had the elite camp. Brought on some young quarterbacks again. Gunnar Rivers was a big deal too, but that was fun. I don't think he left with an offer yet, but we are going to talk about the people that did leave with an offer, and Texas making you prove it a little bit more nowadays, right? It's not so much like I saw USC Bowman's commit with USC. And his pitch was like, everybody stay home, come to Southern California. I was like, that's where we were a couple years ago, where our pitch just had to be like, come on, guys, state pride, you know? And now it's feeling a little bit different, man. So what's kind of the latest coming out of elite camp right now?
Yeah, one thing I love about elite camp is a lot of elite guys being, invited and being evaluated. It used to be in the past and future or past regiments with different coaching staff. If you had 20 plus offers, you were a big name, had a 4-star ranking, you didn't have to compete at Texas camps. You can just show up and I'm the big man on campus type of feel, right? Mm-hmm. But now even those guys with 20, 25 offers, you got to come be evaluated. If you have a Texas offer, you still have to be evaluated, right? Because it changes on the recruiting board how a staff may see you. Those guys trying to get a Texas offer, they're coming to compete. So it says a lot about the health of the program and what Texas, the kind of type of kids Texas is recruiting, right? They're recruiting guys who want to come out and show it. They can compete, show they have a skill, show they can go against some of the other best and show that I am that guy that you want on your team, right? And so to see that, you only used to see it from Alabama, right? Nick Saban had a thing. If you got an offer from Alabama, you still had to come to camp and prove it. Now in Texas, and Coach Sark in Texas are the exact same way. And so I love the way that it's been operated. But I mean, we had a lot of elite talent on campus yesterday, man. And I know we got an article pulled up to show a ton of guys who got offers yesterday.
Yeah, and we got a few right here. Let's talk about them. And then a lot of these are a lot of these are 2027s.
Right.
So let's look. This is the next wave, right? Not 2026, but the 2027 class is looking pretty nice. Whenever we were filming Recruiting Scoop on Friday, I didn't realize how many like top 1 or 2 at their position guys we have in 2027. But that's interesting too. But let's start with Aiden Starling.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Yeah. Iowa Colony. Coach Chris Jackson was out there offering guys yesterday, but to come out there as a receiver and earn an offer, it says a lot. I mean, because they look for specific things, right? Can you run routes? Can you be in the right spot? And it's kind of hard when you're playing with a quarterback or a quarterback's throwing to you at a camp where you never caught balls from before. You got to work out timing and things of that nature. So it's good to kind of see a couple receivers here got offered yesterday. But yeah, Aiden Starling was the first one. Then Alvin Mosley, another guy at Crawford. I mean, some of these guys here, and shout out to Deshae Milburn, man. He trains a lot of these guys in the Houston area. So when they show up to camps, they look prepared. They look like I can step on campus and play. I can step on campus and run through individual drills with no problem. You don't have to coach me up on the small things. I'm coming prepared. So a lot of these kids with 2027 who got offers are guys that look the part already, can run through drills seamlessly, and you don't have to coach me up on just the small things, right? And so that's a note for all other kids out there. If you want to be recruiting, get offers. Show up prepared. Get that training in.
Yeah, these wide receiver trainers and DB trainers are next level now, man. Yeah. Like those are the 2 positions that they can come in looking really polished, opposed to the big guys that take a little bit more time. Then we also got Jaden Wade, IMG.
Yeah.
Another quarterback that came in. He's 2028, so they're getting in there real early now, huh?
Yeah, definitely. And now Coach Sark and Coach Milwee, they evaluate quarterbacks hard. To get an offer from Texas, they don't offer that many and they don't recruit that many. So, and this guy's 2028, but they stay ahead of the curve when it comes to recruiting quarterbacks, right? They got their classes pretty much lined up. So I'm sure they had to get their eyes on this guy for a while, especially being from Los Angeles, being from California. We know how they love the West Coast. I would look like he's headed off to IMG this fall, but man, I mean, he had to put on a great showing yesterday throwing the football around.
Who was it? JC Latham. He was on Bussin' with the Boys and was talking about how IMG is as an academy. It's that's pretty crazy stuff for their prep. Okay, we got a San Antonio kid, Eli Johnson, DB. He looks tall enough in this picture here.
Yeah, he's almost 6'3", a big athletic guy. He plays both sides of the football, so he plays receiver too. I know some people got him just listed as an athlete, but I think he more likely probably plays DB at the next level. As you see, he got an offer from Coach Akina, Coach Canito, who's the Nichols coach at Texas now. So, I mean, a big rangy guy, big safety. If you notice, all the guys that are recruiting at DB, they all look the exact same. Over 6'1", 200 pounds, ranging, good hips, good feet, good coordination, man, and go sideline to sideline or hash to hash if you're a safety. So they definitely have a type.
We got another Waco kid too. Well,
Yeah.
Wisner was Waco, and then he went. But what do we got here? Lathan Weiston?
I can't pronounce the last name. I don't want to butcher the kid's name, but Waco Midway, man. Coach Chad Scott, running back, came and showed what he could do. The Waco pipeline to Texas to Austin has been great for Texas for the past 3 years, and so I see no need to change that. But pretty sure he came out there and probably looked good in one-on-one drills versus linebackers running routes and going through the drill. So
who do we all have? We have Kobe Black is out of Waco, right?
Yeah, Jelani
McDonald. Trey Wisner was in Waco. Yeah, it's been a nice little collection of athletes for them.
I love it.
Caden McCarty, we got another edge on the line here, 2027. This is by the pool.
Yeah, definitely. Another big name. Texas has been at that school a lot lately, the past few years. But, man, this is a guy who's been on the rise for a while. Just watching this tape, I kind of knew the offer was coming. Like, this is a guy he's grown. He's finally got, grown a few inches, kind of grown into his body. But, man, he has a quick first step. And Coach Alan Clark, he definitely has a type, right? If you show some explosiveness off the edge, off the ball, man, you can dominate one-on-ones, you're probably going to get off from him, right? And so this is another guy, McCarty.
Clark was a smart ad, man, isn't that? It's looking like that, dude.
I don't know if I'm ready to call him the H recruiter, but maybe. Like, he is that guy. It's not a building, not a school he can't step into and have a relationship with a coaching staff, players, family. Like, he is that guy. I'm not calling him to short choice, but he could be in my book.
Well, and I'm also training all the pro guys. That matters. Incredibly networked. I mean, he's proven to help NFL guys, right? So that's immediately going to get you credit. But, man, he's been all over the place. And that allows PK to sit back. Hey, this is who I want. Hey, let's scheme. Let's work on Georgia right now. And so I think that was a huge grab to have a coach like that's that fired up and on the road. It seems like I'm hearing Clark's name every week.
It is
about going out and trying to find guys. So that's always big. Trenton Blaylock, huh?
Yeah.
Humble, Texas, cornerback.
Yeah, Coach Orfeh being from Houston area, he has his hands in, that pipeline all the way back to the Houston area. I'm not sure if this is, Blaylock. I know he has an older brother, I want to say, that went off to, I think Oklahoma, but another kid who has tremendous speed. Tascasita keeps speed. I think, if you look at the track 4x1 team, he got one of the fastest times in the nation. So another fast, quick twitch cornerback here, man. I love he tagged Jaleel Johnson. That was a former Texas guy who kind of, I think, ended up transferring out to play safety. So, yeah, man, Mr. Blaylock out of Tascasita, man, another great athlete out there on the island.
I remember 4 years ago when I started working with IT, I didn't know Houston that well. Area, and so I was like, Humble, Texas. Eric was like, it's Humble, dude. I was like, all right,
yeah, Humble.
But now I nail it every time. Peyton Miller, offensive line, and a Texas.
Yes, actually, I got a chance to see this kid this past fall. I figured Texas was kind of recruiting, talking to him. Saw him in person, man. He's a big physical kid who really gets out there. I think he projects as a center at the next level. I know he plays tackle at Anna. He's probably bigger than most kids up that way in the teams that they play.
For sure.
But Peyton Miller is an absolute stud, man. He's an aggressive kid. He blocks you after the whistle. He's trying to take you to the sideline, to the track every single snap. I actually absolutely love this kid. So that was a great pickup that he got an offer from Texas.
Dude, that's so crucial in my eval. Like on the huddle, like I want to see you falling on guys. I want to see like that's almost probably a third of my evaluation. Like when I'm looking at offensive line guys, it's like, do you have how's your feet, requisite size? Can you pass block? Are you more of a run guy? Also, are you mean as hell? And it's mean as hell has to be a huge aspect.
Has to be
line, man. Nyman, Lawrence, quarterback, Miami, another wave of quarterbacks, 2028, as long as the 2027 guys. It's nice to see the quarterbacks trying to get in really early and get exposed to Sark early.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I mean, they're evaluating her. I think you got to be ahead with the quarterbacks, right? Because it's such
Yeah.
a can't take too many. So it's good to be ahead of the next class and see who's coming up and identify a guy who can play quarterback for you, which is hard at the University of Texas. I think that's great that you got him in early or getting a head start anyway.
Well, and Sark's not a big transfer quarterback guy. He'll take it when you need it, like Caldwell. But
Yeah,
Sark's trying to see you and follow you for a couple years.
exactly.
Another IMG tackle, Canton, 2028.
Yeah, this is a huge kid. I think he's headed to IMG. He's out of
Mhm.
we say I want to say Center, Texas. Yeah, Center,
Yeah.
Texas. So I know Texas has kind of been recruiting for a while. He was on campus a few months ago, came to visit, and Texas showed interest. So now he showed back up and got the offer. That's huge, but that is a huge kid. I think he's not close to being done growing.
When did we take that support staff from the guy from IMG? We took a support staff. He had a familial relationship with IMG, and it really helped us with IMG. Just can't remember how many years ago that was.
I can't think on that one.
Another edge, Cameron Hall, Mansfield, Texas. I want to ask you, so with the premium positions, we know the tackles like Texas. We know the edges are starting to like Texas, right? With Colin Simmons. We know the wide receivers are starting to figure it out. What position have you seen that went from lukewarm on Texas to really wanting to go to Texas as we've transitioned into a better team recently?
No, they kind of stole that one with the edge room. I would say maybe even defensive tackle. I think kids are starting to pay attention to they can be rotated. And it's not so much in-state guys, it's out-of-state guys. They pay attention to, I can come to Texas, I can dominate, but I don't have to play 60, 70 snaps. I can play 35 to 40, dominate, still get drafted high, and have a chance to play at the next level. So I would say defensive tackle, mostly some out-of-state kids. I think Coach Kenny Baker is doing an absolutely wonderful job when he's identifying guys. I think some big defensive tackles are starting to pay attention to Texas a lot more. The trenches, man, that's where it's at. I think every year you look at it, Sark works on a room, right? At first it was DB safety room. Like he turned that around. Like every single year they identify
linebacker one year. Yeah,
right.
just like, yeah.
Every year they identify a room we need to improve on, and they go out and do it. I think maybe the uptick in recruiting or effort helps along with it coming from lukewarm to hot.
Well, I'm good to hear high school recruits being very reasonable, saying like, hey, I want less snaps because I'm going to be more fresh. I'm going to look better. Texas has gotten 6 defensive tackles in the league in the past 3 years.
Exactly.
So it's like paying attention to that because sometimes, you get the like, well, I'm a baller. I'm out there for 70 snaps.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that the high school recruits are thinking that way. That's probably the only position that thinks that way. But I like to hear that they like the rotation because it's huge. And the reality is Texas does it. If you're going to come here, you're going to rotate. And especially if we're going for the long haul 16, 17 game seasons, man. Yeah. Plus, if you're a big guy, man, just go out there and kill it for 25 snaps, man.
It's all you need. Trust me, especially when you play in Texas. That August, that summer, those early games are hot. I'm not trying to be out there for 70 snaps and then I put some bad film on tape.
Yeah.
I'm just not trying to do it. So, if I can come out there and give me 35 snaps and I can dominate and show hustle, grit, effort, you got a better chance of being drafted.
This is a hell of a name.
Jay Storm?
Yeah, Jay Storm Knight. That's a hell of a name right there.
That's a football player right there. I mean, that's the athlete.
A lot of offensive tackles here.
Mm-hmm. That's a big kid out of San Antonio, man. I want to say that's the big 6'8" guy that they've been looking at for a while. I think it's another one also, maybe San Antonio. Maybe I'm getting them mixed up, but yeah, that's a huge kid. That's a huge kid.
Grady James, followed by another great name, not ranked currently, but a corner.
Yeah,
hey, man, if you're gonna be a cornerback, Grady's a good name.
I love that.
Another offensive line out of Florida, academy guy.
Wow, that's big. Yeah, the outreach of this program from this coaching staff, like I know Texas is a national brand, but see the pipelines grow nationally to different states, Northeast, Southeast. We already knew we had West Coast, and we got Texas, of course, but man, they're expanding their searches and really getting after it. Their support staff is doing a great job identifying talent and getting into the coaching staff.
Well, especially, you're coming from Florida for a camp and you're a 2028.
Right.
It's like that takes a lot of logistics, money in too. So it's like people are interested. Jackson Vaughn, another edge. Is Bergen Catholic? That was Sadir Mitchell.
I want to say yes. It actually is. So they're back up northeast. Like great relationship. And you come camp all the way from New Jersey to Texas, you want to be here. Like you really have legit interest in Texas. You don't fly that far on your own dime to come compete in the camp in the summer
Sure.
if you don't have any interest in Texas. So he came out and showed us stuff. 2028 guy too, earned the offer.
Yeah. Micah Rhodes, running back, Spring Tech,
Yeah,
okay, Klein Oak.
I know. It's another kid. He has a ton of offers already. Man, he's a legacy kid, but grandfather. So I guess you can still count.
Clearly this photo here, this throwback.
Yes, old school with the ball up. I remember the camera guy back in the day, hold the ball up like this when you take your picture.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that hand on your knee pad. But I know a lot of people have been talking about this kid for a while, waiting for him to get a Texas offer. So I was glad to see he actually got one. Grandfather played at Texas. That's great.
Yeah. James Foster, safety, 2028.
Yeah, another kid out of Lancaster that's really growing up and shooting up the recruiting boards. Got a chance to see him last spring as a freshman. He looked really good. Shadow Creek.
Yeah, another Shadow Creek kid, cornerback, 2027.
Came out and earned that offer. You can tell he just got through camping. Coach Orfe, like I said, he has his hands and all in the Houston recruits, man. That's his neck of the woods. That's where he grew up. That's where he played football. So kind of see him good.
I need official roster heights on our coaches. So whenever they do these photos, I can get direct comparisons. I wish they would list height and weight for coaches as well.
Yeah. Here we go.
Eric, you ready to rock? What's up, dude?
Hey, sorry. I've got a lot of people here on a lot of devices.
Yeah, for sure, man. Happy birthday to the boy, man.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
All right. We're just talking about the offers that went out.
Hey, this is all news to me. I checked out. We did Mega Weekend, and I'm catching up with our viewers.
Good.
Caden Moss. All right, cool.
Yeah, Caden Moss, offensive tackle. This is like the 19th offensive tackle, by the way.
Yeah,
which is a good
there's
sign.
A lot of 2027 kids that are really promising prospects, especially on the offensive line. I'm not caught up on 2027s, but it just seems like every other day there's another really good looking offensive lineman.
Yeah, for sure. And then we're getting them from all over too. Florida, Jackson, Mississippi. Like that's what's interesting with the 2027s, 2028s, taking the flights out, the logistics. I mean, that's a motivated player and family.
Definitely.
Elijah Wan, Houston.
Yeah, that's Bat. I know that's what he goes by, but then that's another kid out of North Crowley. Absolute stud in the 27 class, man. Another rangy DB. Man, I don't know. They just got a pipeline in North Crowley. I don't know.
They do, man.
Or whatever, but Bat is what he goes by. He's a really dominant safety, but he can do it all.
Nice.
That's cool. Bryson Thrower. He missed the opportunity. That's a quarterback name, dude. That's a quarterback name. Wide receiver out of Forney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's another wide receiver.
Boys, man, he's going to be one of the top receivers in 2027. I don't look. If you look at his offers, maybe he has total maybe 20 with like in the last 2 weeks. Like everybody's offering this kid. He's dominating every little 7-on-7 tournament and camp he goes to.
We're getting a lot. There's a lot of offensive tackle, a lot of edge. A lot of wide receiver, and then important kind of quarterbacks doing their initial auditions, but all really like impactful positions on the field.
Yeah.
But before we keep going, guys, Academy's got a new deal for you. In honor of your service and support for our country, Academy Sports and Outdoors is offering military and first responders 10% off your purchase, both in your local Academy Sports and Outdoors and online from April 27th through July 4th. Exclusions apply. Visit academy.com/discount for details. Get your 10% off, guys. We know we got some military guys in here. We have guys that shout us out from bases around the world. So get your deal. Thank you, Academy. All right, Eric, you did that good piece kind of talking about, hey, these are the spots these are going to be the numbers they roughly take at certain spots. I think that'll be an interesting exercise to kind of go through and see what as the class is actually starting to shape up. This is really, to me, when it starts to really be go time, even though Sark's going to take like half of it down to the wire, and then we'll win at the wire. Let's look at it.
Yeah, this is based on this is based on how the staff is operating. These are not, I'm not saying these are the exact internal numbers, but when you put everything together, the giant collage of interactions between coaches and prospects, where they're traveling, who they're going to see, and who's taking official visits, you can kind of put together the picture of what they're looking at each position.
Yeah, for sure. So let's look at quarterback. 1, Dia Bell is a perfect fit for the class, and we'll keep the roster number at 4. So me and Ian did a breakdown of Dia Bell on our Wednesday show, I believe, and we just watched through all his tape. Man, you know he's a good player, but every time you watch that tape, dude, his ability to throw deep, his functional mobility, which is there, his pocket mobility, you know, his dad's pedigree, and not just in what we've been told too, not just like a God-gifted, I mean, all NBA players are God-gifted, but not just pure talent, right? A hard worker too on top
Even
of that.
Eric Ostertag was God-gifted. He was indeed.
Yeah, they're all God-gifted if we're talking to the general population for sure, but hard worker too. And then also they got his young brother's coming up trying to be a hooper. I saw that video of them playing basketball. So just a solid group there, man. But man, Dia Bell's an exciting prospect. If you haven't watched this tape or haven't watched the Wednesday show, go back and find it. Because every time I watch this tape,
I like where you're going. This is about numbers, and then you just had to go on a tangent about Dia because he literally is that good. I watched the tape and I can't help but think he looks like Arch. And we don't even really know what Arch is going to be yet. We have a very good idea of what Arch is going to be, but now I feel like I have a pretty good idea what Dia Bell's going to be too.
Yeah, dude. He's exciting. All right, running back. We're going to take 2. Death taxes and Texas signing 2 running backs doesn't seem to fail.
No, yeah, got to take 2. KJ Edwards obviously is the in-state guy. I feel very good about that one. I know Coach does as well. And then out of state, looking at 3 or 4 guys, sort of a bigger back, complementary piece to KJ. We'll see what they can pull off.
Yeah, Derek Cooper was an interesting one that we're looking at. There's
Latimer, Xavier Crowell, but we think Crowell's going to Alabama.
Yeah.
There's a kid out of Arizona too, that big kid that's running 10.65. Carson Becker, I think his name is. KJ and out of state.
There you go.
Arizona's, man, really coming up. Like that Phoenix area, man, they're putting out some really interesting talent lately.
I drive through there every year a couple times, and it grows every year. They're getting a lot of California move-ins, and it seems like they have a few more prospects every year.
Yeah. Tight end 2, Mark Bowman, baby.
Whoops.
What are you gonna do there? I was telling Charlie up on
the show. Even right there, because he was leaving Georgia. We were thinking Georgia at the time that I wrote that.
You just said if Texas lands Bowman, the staff could keep the number at 1. But given how hard they're recruiting Hezzy Kent, it's apparent the number is 2, which is good.
Yeah, it's going to be 2. It's Kent. They love Kent, and then probably more of a dynamic-looking sort of receiver, because Kent obviously is going to be an inline guy. He's gigantic. Now you're looking at they could literally just take Kent and put that number somewhere else if they want, because they're going to feel great about Nick Townsend here, and I don't know today. Starting today, workouts start today. So starting today, they're going to love Nick Townsend, and then Emery Winston had a really, really, really strong spring, and a lot of coaches are excited about him. And then you still have Jordan Washington. So if I were them, I would keep the number at 1, and then allocate that spot somewhere else.
Dude, Kent definitely in the awards for most fun tape of the year. Yeah. Watch that guy huddle, dude. He's playing every position, and he's huge, man. He'd have to slim down probably, but it's interesting. Any insight on old USC's play for Bowman? You did a good little, I don't remember if it was a post or just like an article, but
it was obviously they, if the numbers that were thrown out there, the on 3 USC site said between $8 and $10 million. That is just absolutely. How are his knees feeling? How are Greg Ostertag's knees feeling at 7'2" and 50 years old? I don't know. I don't know. It probably hurts to walk. Mark Bowen. That's what they paid for him is ludicrous. It's stupid. You could take the best tight end in the NFL, and he would not be worth $8 to $10 million. So if you have a 85 roster considerations.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, I hope they enjoy him. Apparently, they paid that for Jakeem Stewart, too, the D tackle. So you're talking about They're going to overlap for 2 years. You're talking about $16 to $20 million between two guys on a roster of 85. That's bad economics, but
that's
whatever.
insane. Yeah, but also shout out Mark Bowman. I get it, dude. Fight on,
absolutely.
fight on, Bowman.
Yeah. My son would go to Idaho State and be a Vandal for that amount of money.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Mark at all, man. But I was also telling Coach he did the classic "We're not good yet" post where he's like, "Guys in Southern California, stay home. It's the right thing to do."
Yeah.
And like, I remember Texas used to have to like give that pitch when we didn't have any real things
also,
to point to.
And also, he's from from Colorado. Yeah, so.
Exactly.
That's even funny. That's even funnier.
Yeah, once you go be a Buffalo, if that's the case.
He's just modern day. He's just become a modern day guy, I guess.
So what they're doing is they're throwing good money after bad with Lincoln Riley. At least that's what it looks like. It reminds me of Jimbo Fisher, where it's kind of too big to fail. You paid so much for this guy, you're so invested, and you keep throwing money at it. I don't think it's going to work. I'll never believe in Lincoln Riley. He can win 5 national championships, and I think he's going to flame out. We'll see.
Yeah, Bowman's a great player, though. No knock on Bowman. Get your money, man. You're a baller. But, man, roster management-wise, that is but also this kind of feels like the death throw. Like it's the last kind of attempt. These are the kind of last spins before you go like, it's not working, Right.
He is a baller. He just can't miss. He's going to be George Kittle in college.
Yes.
But there's really no justification for paying him that much if that's what he's really getting.
Money.
Also, man, in this market, like it's kind of wide receiver-y, right? You let the tight ends rise from whatever level they're on, and you can get a damn good tight end injury. Like Claire at Ohio State. Like you also don't necessarily have to spend this much up front. Now, tight end, don't get me wrong, it's a great position if there's a top guy, but you can also wait and see here for less money and more value in a proven college guy too.
Well, if you go to George Kittle, George Kittle was drafted in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So the market for tight ends is not $8 to $10 million. Like, you kind of get it with D tackle Jakeem Stewart. Of course, you kind of understand. I mean, I don't get that amount for him either, but if you're going to do it, it makes more sense for him, quarterback, whatever, maybe edge. But tight end, I mean, how much better is Mark Bowman going to be than Jack Andrews? He's not going to be $7 million better.
That's what I'm saying. Like even if he's damn good or the best tight end, the difference from the best tight end and the 3rd best tight end are not going to be that crazy in production.
No.
So yeah, that's kind of the tricky part. Yeah, Gunnar Rivers was on campus. I remember on Recruiting Scoop, Justin was hitting at it. So he's one of the 9,000 Rivers kids. But once again, that's just great proof of concept, right? You want former pros saying, "Hey, we trust you," So that was pretty cool. Yeah. We'll talk baseball here in a little bit. I don't think this is our strongest baseball panel, but we'll give you our I guess casual takes. If you guys want something in depth on football,
oh damn.
Yeah, I'm such a casual. Like in football, if we would have lost with that much of a lead, I would have had like 9 reasons we failed and really stuck. And baseball, I'm like, guys, we tried really hard. I'm such a casual when it comes to baseball. All right, wide receiver looking like we're going to take 4 here. A couple of athletes, ballers, but also this is a weird position when we kind of portal so much too. But also. You got Bishop and Lott in this class, baby. So it's right.
Yeah. Well, they got to get Lott, of course. Bishop is in the class. Yeah, it seems like they're going to take the athletes that they can get and sort of think of them as wide receivers first. And maybe that changes, once they get to campus. And Bishop might play corner. We've heard that he'll get a look at corner. But yeah, I think they're going to you have to you cannot pass on these guys, even though you don't know exactly where they're going to end up. So we're just going to allocate them that wide receiver here and see how it plays out. But because of those guys being athletes, you have to prioritize more of a sure thing. I feel like, they feel great about Chris Stewart. And they're all in on Caden Finley. I just had one of my Notre Dame buddies called me asking about Caden Finley. He's visiting Notre Dame right now. Texas is all in there. They're they're doing everything they can to get that guy. But I think because they're taking athletes, they want more of a sure thing. And Caden seems – look, I don't know if that guy is going to be 75 catch, 15 touchdown guy, but I know for sure he can be 50 catch, 800-yard guy. So the floor is extremely high for that kid.
Yeah, Eric, didn't you have? Was it Bishop that you had that source that said he's a 6-star or something?
6-star.
Yeah. I had it was a Texas source said I said, hey man, I think Jalen Watt's a 5-star. He goes, I think Jermaine Bishop is a 6-star. I was like, oh shit.
He showed it.
Yeah. I hear it. It's a Longhorn Cigar King. This guy's got a lot going on. That guy's all over it. Yeah. Bishop, you just can't. It reminds me of Jalen Waddle. Well, you can't touch Jalen Waddle playing 7-on-7. Then how the hell are you going to tackle him? I think Bishop is the same sort of dude. Yeah. So you got to play him at wide receiver. Obviously, Jalen Waddle would have been a tremendous corner, but you got to get the ball in that guy's hands. I feel the same way about Bishop.
Yeah, and also I urge anybody that gets nervous about like athlete designations because they're unclear at first. We did a dive on the numbers, and athletes are actually the number one drafted position, which is strange. So it's like DTs have the highest bust rate. Athletes actually get drafted more than any other group. So don't be worried when someone's listed an athlete, even though the projection can be weird. Because the NFL, guess what? They really like athletes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The bigger concern is when they don't have like a set, like a clear projection. Those guys have 2 clear projections, either wide receiver or corner. Some guys, sometimes you see an athlete, you're like, well, I don't know which side of the ball he's going to play. Landon Jackson could have been called an athlete if you watch his tight end tape.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's another guy that fits in the phylum of athlete to NFL. Eventually, but it's just because they saw him as an edge. The first time I saw Landon Jackson, he caught my eye playing tight end. So when they don't have a clear projection is the problem. When they do have a clear projection, you just get them in the class and do whatever.
Sure. Offensive line going to take 5 to 6. They're out recruiting hard, huh?
Yeah, they are.
Ojo, Turntine, Zane Crimpin got an RPM too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Charlie's the expert here because all those guys are in Dallas.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I feel good about all 3 of those guys mentioned right there: Ojo, Turntine, and Crimpin, man. And look, talk about some versatility, some size. Like they can do it all. I mean, they get on campus, get up to weight after being with Coach Becker. Man, these guys will be absolute studs across the line. You put them all together in the same class, man. Could you rank it with the 2022 class with Kelvin Banks and the rest of them? Like, I feel that good about this group. I don't know how others may feel, but man, that's a talented group.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, dude, if you pull Ojo, Turntine, and Crippen, I'm sure you can make that argument.
So I know with some out-of-state guys, but man, I feel really good about those 3 mentioned first there, man. You guys can play up and down the line.
That's why we have the number at potentially 6 is because they are focused on some out-of-state guys. They're recruiting them pretty hard. I think part of that, is to make sure that they hit their number in case they miss on somebody in-state. But they feel really good about the in-state guys, and they're still recruiting those guys out of state. So that 2022 class, what they took 7 in that year, right? It could be 6, and obviously Ojo and Turntine are kind of Cam Williams and Kelvin Banks analog. And then, Crimpin, I think, is sort of like Cole Hudson, except probably more tackle ability than Cole had, but he can play a little bit of everything. So they want Crimpin very bad. I know some of the Stargazers aren't super excited about Crimpin. Crimpin's a stud.
Watch this tape.
Hey, watch this tape.
34-inch arms too. Like that's tackle. That's NFL tackle length in arms. If he ends up playing there, if not, he could play guard or center. One of those. I compared it to like a super Chris Hall. Chris Hall played all 5 positions at Texas.
Richardson, Texas. Wow, that's a throwback. I know you wrote that. Will's working overtime. He's visited Crimpin twice in a month. That tells you what he thinks about it.
Dude, watch the tape on Crimpin. You'll love him.
Yeah. Or Trey Hawkins. Trey Hawkins played a lot of positions at Texas. If you want somebody more recent but still old. Trey Hawkins. I love that versatility. You can't put a price on being able to play all 5 positions.
For sure. Especially if they have center ability, because then you got mental acuity there too.
Bingo.
If you are a 4 or 5-star offensive line, where would you rather go than Texas to prepare, get ready for the NFL?
I think that's a rhetorical question. Are we seriously asking that question? Who has the best line pipeline right now? For some reason, Iowa forever was pushing out dude. Wisconsin, those the thick ankled Scandinavians up in the Midwest. Texas is a good spot right now. Flood obviously has a great reputation, and they're getting the right talent too. But they just nail the evals, man. They're so good at that evaluation. Not just like, okay, this guy's talented, but this guy's actually going to maximize.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time you wouldn't go to Texas is if the year ahead of you, they got the 5-star. That's you end up stocking a lot of talent, right? And so then that would be the only time you wouldn't want to maybe go to Texas. I
I
would
would,
always
I would, I would agree with that. But look, when Gooseby came in 2023,
I know. It's
and that
impressive.
was right after Banks, and he's about to be out too. So,
It's honestly it's starting to bother me because I'm like, guys, I want
More years.
at least 2 years out of these tackles. But it's like now we're in a position where guys are getting drafted too fast, which is the polar opposite of where we were.
Exactly.
It's just funny. We're struggling with success right now, man. Maybe Ohio State. Ohio State was putting some guy. I know this round they did.
Maybe Notre Dame.
But yeah, man,
Kansas just put 3 guys in the league, right? I think they had 3 guys drafted. The Georgia O-line. Ohio State. They had a couple guys. Ohio State's offensive line history is not nearly as good as as the school is. Like the school is one of the best of all time, but you don't really associate O-line with them. Obviously, they had a couple guys that had some injuries, and then Donovan got drafted. But it's kind of weird. It's kind of like it's not like Clemson, where Clemson just there are no O-line from Clemson in the NFL. It's just for somehow they've always been able to scheme around it, recruit around it with quarterbacks and skill talent. But Ohio State's right now they've been good, but they're not really up there. Yeah. So Jackson Miles says Notre Dame. Yeah, they always have guys.
Always.
Is Harris Sewell starting yet for Clemson? Do you know?
He's playing. I don't think he's. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. Obviously they played them in December, and I was familiar with Harris at the time, but
yeah,
that's a long time ago, man.
I know, but I always just keep track. Man, think of the offensive line this year if they had Cam and Trevor. I know, man. Don't even bring it up, dude. That would have been sick. All right, defensive tackle. We're going to hit 3 to 4, but before we do something that wild, guys, let's hear a word from Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
I didn't want to just disappear, but Eric, tell them about defensive tackle. I'll be back in about 1 minute.
All right. Yeah, D tackle. What I love about D tackle is that they went and got 5 guys in the portal, but 3 of them have multi years of eligibility, and that's going to be your bridge for making up for lost time. The Bo Davis effect of missing on guys in 2023, 2024, not hitting their numbers. They didn't even hit their numbers last year. They wanted 4. They ended up with 3 very good ones, but they came up a number short. I'm going to keep the number here at 3. I think it could go to 4. But they've got those bridge year guys in this last portal cycle. Obviously, they look really good. Now, Coach, do you feel like Winfield is going to stick with USC, like you're saying? Obviously, we just got an indication of how hard USC is spending. Do you think
right. Like that's a lot. You got to allocate a lot of funds, man. I don't know. I know he said I'm shut down his recruitment or whatever the case. I've seen kids say that and then end up somewhere else, right? At the end of the day, Texas doesn't give up recruiting him. I still feel like they have a chance at the end of the day. I just really feel that way. We'll see how it plays out. I can't wait I'm gonna try to catch up with him over the summer and really deep dive. Like, what's going on? You really
one of those things where you have to take the Bowman information and use it for every other recruitment that USC is involved in. Like, are they really going this hard after Winfield? Not obviously not $8 to $10 million like with Bowman, but is it $2 million? I mean, because Texas ain't going to pay $2 million for a high school D tackle unless his name is something else last year.
Yeah. I just be like, wow, I guess USC doesn't think you're as good as Mark Bowman. I would just be the most passive aggressive. You're not worth $8 million, huh? I guess I don't know. Ask Riley if you're worth $8 million.
Yeah, you got to leverage every recruit that they have. They've got like 28 commits or something ridiculous. Just go leverage all those guys in the same fashion. D tackle is they're in a great spot in this class. Kenny Baker's got a really, really good big board. I felt like Kenny Baker made up for lost time last year and ended up putting together a good big board. It didn't play out immediately like we thought it would because of the Oregon commit and the Florida State commit on the same day. But he's got a really, really good big board right now. D'Urville, Vodney, Cleveland. They're still not giving up on Winfield. A couple other guys in the Southeast. Keith Doty, Mesquite Poteet is the guy that they might go after a little bit later. So Kenny Baker's in a great spot.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's been Baker's addition's been nice. All right, Edge, the Colin Simmons successor. It seems like everything is framed around Colin Simmons in that recruiting regard now.
Those guys make one play on campus, and you're like, all right, well, got to find his replacement. It's so much about Anthony Hill. You said you're a victim of your own success, like you were talking about earlier with guys going to the NFL so quick. On offensive line, where you've got to, you have Colin Simmons for 1 year, and we're already thinking, all right, they got to get a guy in the pipeline to replace him.
Oh, you do.
Yeah, especially whenever you get reliant on Colin Simmons level production that we think is going to happen, that's also why you need to refill it, because it's like, man, if we're getting used to what 10 sacks a year feels like or whatever, that'll be
find him now.
Yeah.
Well, and then everybody I talked to said he's the best player on the team right now. That means you're a 3-year player without a doubt. You could be the fifth best player on the team right now, and you might be a 3-year guy. So he's gone. Got to find that next guy. Now they took Smith Orogbo in the last class, which I love that take because he requires some physical development, which will take a little bit of time, which means he's going to understand the process. He's not going to expect to play immediately. You got Colin ahead of him. Got Trey Moore that can play there as well. Zena could play there. Colton Bostic might even play there still. So there's a lot of bodies there, but it's going to thin out in a hurry with a lot of those guys going to the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, finding a buck is going to be interesting. I think we got our Jack though, Lance Jackson, baby.
Yeah, I feel good about Jack, and a couple of those guys are looking at her. Those guys are not going to be cheap either. Jarayla McCoy, Richard Wesley, those guys are absolute ballers. Jarayla McCoy is going to win just because he's going to have NFL measures.
Yes,
it won't be until that guy's in the NFL where people are playing on the same competitive level as him. Because he's got such long levers and size, he's going to be really good. So Texas has to get one of those jacks. Jacks are typically harder to find than bucks, unless we're talking about an absolute special stud like Colin.
Yeah, and then, but hey, Richard West, we got a pool too, man. Holler at us.
No, we're good.
Yeah, that was another one of those things. Like that was shades of last year, right? So we know how Oregon got some of those guys last year. A lot of people are getting hip to what we were talking about last year on Inside Texas about, it's one thing to get a commitment. It's another thing to get a signature. Some of these schools are doing what it takes to get a commitment. Texas wants a signature. So I'm curious to see what happens with Wesley, but because they got Lance Jackson in the last class, I'm not sure that they're going to want to go all in 100%. They might want to get a little bit of a separation. But we'll see. I don't know. Obviously, they're looking at some really good players. We'll see if they can pull it off.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned Landon Barnes. I went to the spring game, got to see that kid. I'm telling you, like every time I see him, he gets more impressive, man. Every single time. He's young, a lot taller, stronger, faster, quicker off the ball. Like been at the game with a spring game with a ton of other like SEC coaches. Like, man, this kid here we should have been recruiting him, right? When you see coaches talking like that, it lets you know they missed out and didn't do the right eval on the right kid. Mm-hmm. So Landon Barnes is a guy that we really should pay attention to.
All you had to do was talk to the coaches there. They'll tell you, they've got 2 edges. The other edge has been known forever. Like the other, what's his name? KJ Edwards, right?
Ford.
Ford. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, KJ. Yeah, KJ Ford. Yeah, that guy's been on the radar for forever. Everybody's like, oh, he's the next Colin Simmons, But really, if you talk to the guys at Duncanville, they're like, man, Landon Barnes has a lot of upside. And you look at his build too. That guy's going to carry 260 pounds, no problem. And like those coaches said, that they were telling you that one coach told you he's the best edge he's seen this cycle.
He's the best edge he's seen this cycle. Right? He's like, where has he been hiding? Like nowhere. Yeah. Somebody, y'all just haven't been evaluating and scouting him. He's been there.
Also, it's not like Duncanville's a hole in the wall program.
Exactly.
It's like,
come on, man.
Yeah. Hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, I was like, that's one of the best programs in the country. And they put out a pretty good edge. He goes to Texas.
Yeah.
Linebacker,
Ooh.
looking at 3 here. Man, I've been kind of weak on our linebacker recruiting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. It's probably the most mystifying big board. Like I don't really, we felt great about Kosi Opala. That I feel, that guy's going to end up in the class as long as they keep recruiting him as hard as everybody else is. Texas should get that one done. And then it's, a lot of out-of-state guys. We get asked about Xavier Griffin all the time. Texas is recruiting him as an edge, and so that could be the replacement for Colin. But that makes the linebacker board even murkier. So you got Braden Rouse, they're all in on. I tend to think they're going to go crazy for one of those Georgia linebackers later in the cycle. I don't know that. I haven't heard that. I'm not reporting that, but it just seems like the way that this class is shaping up, it seems like they're going to just go get one of them studs out of Georgia, or at least try to. And they've got that Tyler Atkinson kid is unreal. I think everybody assumes he's going to end up at Georgia. That might be the case. That's probably the case as of today. But somebody's got to go steal that kid. He's insane. Better linebacker tape than Anthony Hill, and that's saying quite a bit.
Said a lot.
Sure. Are there areas of the country that are still producing a lot of linebackers? It seems like it's turning into the fullback of the defense.
My problem with linebacker recruiting, and this guy in the Ryan Nelson mentions Harold Perkins, is a lot of them play edge, or they don't really play off ball. That's why I'm infatuated with Tyler Atkinson. Is he's playing off ball linebacker, so you get a true read on his actual ability. Ty Anthony Smith, we loved him because you got a true read of his linebacker ability, able to read. A lot of those guys playing edge. Opala, he's playing edge. A lot of the in-state guys that Texas has offered, but maybe isn't like 100% all in on, they play edge more so than off ball. And so I want to see off ball linebackers so I can get an understanding and feel confidence about them doing real linebacker things. It's such a cerebral position. It's complex. You want to make sure that they can play fast, not just run fast off the edge.
Yeah, that they understand run schemes and where to be, and they have the discipline of a gap.
Right.
Anticipate where that blocker's coming from so you can beat it. There's a lot of things going on with playing linebacker that, if they're playing edge, and all these guys are great athletes. All of them can pin their ears back and go get it. But can you read? Can you play fast?
Right. Yeah, that's the risk with linebacker now. And you end up taking like Anthony Hill, right? You're having to teach him linebacker more.
Well, Anthony had good linebacker tape. Anthony had off-ball linebacker tape. He was an easy evaluation because he also had running back tape. So you're like, oh my gosh, obviously this guy moves like a linebacker because he moves like a running back.
And his blitzing a lot of the times was from off ball. So it wasn't him just purely lining up on edge.
Sure.
His tape was fun. But like even you say you take a 5-star athlete in Anthony Hill, you're still teaching him linebacker. It feels like it's a position that's not – I don't want to say not well taught because I don't know where the coaches are at that, but it seems like this position has less information earlier on for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's because of scarcity or it's because it's a 4-2-5. You're not playing that many linebackers anymore. Like what, I don't know.
I don't know if I said it in this article or I said it somewhere. I said, maybe we're just not doing our job and we don't have a clear enough picture. Maybe we're missing something. Obviously we have full faith in the staff. They've earned that trust, but it is probably the most confusing big board so far. But I love what Ryan Nelson says here about Xavier Griffin, because Harold Perkins was an athlete that was not easy evaluation. And you've seen that, right? He made all those sacks his freshman year, and then he's like, oh, well, we want him to do linebacker stuff. Well, can he even do that? This is the question I was asking while I was saying I don't think he's a 5-star when he was coming out of high school. Obviously a 5-star athlete, but eventually they have to play a position. So I was down on Harold Perkins, which might have made me look foolish his freshman year when he's just running off the edge. But can he play linebacker? We're still wondering if Harold Perkins can play linebacker, and I think that's why you want Xavier Griffin. He's longer than Harold is. I think you want to beef Xavier up and just put him on the edge. Don't overthink it.
Yeah. Linebacker is a tricky eval, especially because linebackers do a lot of different stuff depending on your schematics. All right, defensive back. Texas has corner and safety in the class. And then, Calicut is who they want.
Yeah.
And then we need two more true corners. That was hard to say.
Two more true corners. Yeah, because obviously this class could end up with like 19 corners, depending on what happens with Lott and Bishop long term. But yeah, you just let meritocracy do its thing and see who wins what. But yeah, this is kind of why we're saying we think that the athletes are going to end up at wide receivers, because they're still recruiting these true corners while still feeling good. They got Bishop in the class. They're still going after guys like Fitzpatrick. Devon Benjamin out of LA, a couple other guys. So yeah, this is now. I think Orphe inherited Terry Joseph's big board, but he tweaked it a little bit. Samari Matthews, coach. Yes. I got to mention him, right? They're all over him. I don't like that Miami got involved on that one. I liked it better when Clemson was involved. So they're clearly going after these true corners, but also the guys that have some versatility, right? Yaheem Riley could play nickel or safety.
Yep, he can.
Edward Howard could play probably corner or slot or nickel. So it's going to be a 5-man class. That's pretty obvious to me at this point. But they are looking for these true corners, which is part of our read on how the wide receivers are going to shake out.
Yeah, remember I said I talked about a type. Orphe definitely has a type. They all got that same over 6 foot, rangy, versatile, can play, line up and play any spot in the secondary. Like, he definitely has the type as far as true shutdown corner, man, what they look like.
Dub, what's your read on this question?
So somebody asked me this the other day. I said he was a quicker, faster, twitchier Barryn Sorrell because he can play the run very well. He's stepping in college. He'll be able to play the run, but he also can get out to the passer too.
I've said he's like a Sorrell 2.0 as well. Yeah. You see that work rate. Barryn Sorrell made a lot of plays because he just was a full-grown man that played hard. I think Barnes is going to have that. I think Barnes is a little bit more of a natural pass rusher, a little bit bendier.
Yeah.
I think he's going to play about 260, maybe 265, and that'll put him over there at Jack.
Yeah.
He's also one of those guys you don't really lose any developmental time, because while he's growing, he can still play buck. You could play buck at 245 pounds. And then, as he grows, they'll just naturally move him over, kind of like how they progressed Ethan Burke and what they're in the middle of trying to do with Colton Fawcett.
Yeah, man. Barryn Sorrell, one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, thanks for that super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. He likes your response there, Coach.
Yeah.
All right, special teams. Everybody's waiting on this one. We got long snapper already committed. Hell yeah. And then a kicker who can credibly punt is coveted. Now all right, let me give this to you. I don't think kicker and punter should be separate positions. I think they should be one guy. That's all you're doing, dude. And so it's like all you're doing is punting and kicking. You're offering a lot more value to us that way. During sideline at practice, even in high school, you can do all of that. These things, to me, it seems silly. Field goal kicker, kickoff kicker, punter, one human being. That's what I think.
You can find a guy, sure, but these guys specialize. I know it sounds weird, but they actually specialize in what they do. And it's the great special teams who got great special teams play. They got guys that specialize in certain things. I'm just telling you, man. It's. But
I'm changing it at the youth level. All right, so I'm revolutionizing the game.
You need to put that on Hot Take Tuesday on IT, and I bet you're going to see a lot more people agreeing with you than you realize.
Well, it's like I get the specialization is great, but the value proposition's awful. I know. And so it's like, dude, for special team spots, if you can do all these, and you wouldn't be able to do this in college necessarily. But like I said, like whenever you start kicking in middle school, high school area, it's like, dude, teach them everything. If you can be one guy taking up 3 spots. Now the flip side is if you get injured, it's absolutely disastrous for everything.
Yeah.
But to me, that's one human being. They can do that.
Yeah.
There we go, baby. We need the hybrids. And not just kickoffs too either. Everything. Kickoffs, field goals, punts. One human.
Anything involving a foot in football, one man.
100%. Yeah. But I do think, man, if I was like a creepy dad, I'd be like, hey, son, we're doing all 3. We're going to Duke. Here's the plan. And then, but Dad, I want to play wide receiver. No, son, we're going to Duke. And here's our value proposition. But anyways, the coaches think exactly like me because they said a kicker who can credibly punt.
Yeah, it's funny. I wrote that the other day. I'd heard that, and then they offered a kid, and the first thing you see is it's punter or kicker the other day. So they're looking for a kicker that can punt
Yeah.
If you want to, you can catch the ball, but you're going to have to kick it afterwards. You catch that snap, and then if you want to play receivers, just go kick it instead.
You're right. I should start in Australia. That's a good point. At the academies there.
Pro Kick Australia. There you go.
Yeah, that would be the place to preach.
Yeah.
Long snapper. That's also one of those creepy dad positions where it's like, look, you're going to make $350,000 guaranteed for like 15 years. You're a pro football player, but you're never going to deal with a real injury.
Yeah.
Long snapper. Yeah, those are the sneaky positions where you're like, your kid probably hates it, but you can mold them into it. We can call it the kangaroo. I agree. All right. So how do you think this class is shaping up? How are we feeling about it? Are we going to take down USC, the mighty USC recruiting Trojans?
I feel good about it. It's going to be, it's going to be top 3. Everybody's like, will they finish number 1? I don't know that they feel like they have to finish number 1 because there comes a pretty significant cost with finishing number 1. The roster is so loaded that they just need to keep stockpiling, keep the conveyor belt going. They don't have to go get some of the guys that they had to get last year. They had to get Justice Terry. They had to kill that D tackle class. They were making up for lost time. I don't think that they feel like they have to really break the bank this cycle. They're still going to need an elite class in line with what they've had. But I don't think that winning or having the number 1 class in the country is what it used to be, because we can all sit there and do the math. Like that was expensive.
Correct.
You got to be able to do it next year too, right? So you don't want any lag in your developmental pipeline, but just keep stockpiling. And they're definitely going to stockpile another really good class, but I don't think they need to be number 1. And I think fans should probably look at it differently. Like, Texas is not desperate, finishing number 1 now, it's, kind of an act of desperation. You're spending probably more money on high school than you probably should.
Yeah, with the portal now too, man. And also, I think you made a point a couple shows ago, but it's so positional, right? Like if you have a class where you need the defensive tackle, the offensive tackle, the edge, these high-paying positions, you're going to get closer to number 1 just by the nature of the player you have to get. But I think to me, it's like rise up, get number 1 when you get it, and then just stay top 5.
Right.
And then rise up and take number 1 when you need it. Yep. But like you said, because now number 1 is like we see with USC, it's correlated with spending. Not like when Bama and Georgia could just restock, and also those players are going to portal out. Some of those because you're going to have too much talent. So you're right. As long as you're top 5, I feel comfortable. But being 1 every year, I don't even know if that's a smart fiscal strategy or a smart talent acquisition strategy, because a lot of those guys will end up getting disgruntled and starting somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree.
Strong in high school and strong in the portal. You don't have to dominate in either regard. Jackson Miles says, hitting on the eval. I've been talking about mental eval since the day I started doing this line of work. It's the biggest part. It's so important. You can have 2 guys that are equally talented. One guy's going to make it, one guy doesn't. They are very, very good at nailing the mental eval of these guys. It's just, it's really uncanny.
Yeah, how do you, whenever you're doing, like you guys are on the road recruiting, right? All the measurables, you've seen them play on Friday night. What are you looking for with your mental eval? Are you asking any probing questions that would get to an eval, or is it just you can tell by the nature of the conversation kind of how intelligent or hardworking these kids are?
Yeah, for me, you can tell by the conversation just how they respond to questions. You ask people around them. Of course, every coach is going to sell their kid. Oh, they're the hardest worker. They do this and this. But you can tell, especially during the spring, you can see them working out. Are they actually leading other guys? People following them, right? Do other teammates respect that kid? And so you can kind of tell what kind of person he may be. And then you find out more about like the home life, because all of that matters, the mental makeup of a kid and what he's going to be, right? Sometimes you have trauma. You just don't know. So I think it's very important for these coaches, especially when you go on the road, you find out everything that you can about a kid that may come up when he gets on campus. Is this going to affect him when he gets here? Or does he come from, stable home, or whatever the case? Is he hungry to overcome whatever situation he's coming from? Well, I want that kid because he's going to fight dog tooth and nail when he gets here to show he is that guy, or he comes from a stable place where he doesn't have to worry about home life, right? A lot of kids, they get NIL, like, I still got to take care of mom. Like, it becomes a money thing. A lot of things factor in a kid mental eval, but I think this staff does a great job of really.
And some kids some kids make it obvious too. You know, I'll never forget watching Joseph Osai practice, and he's talking mad trash to the offense. And I go, damn, Joe, you seem like a nice guy off the field. And he goes, man, I'm just trying to get everything I can out of them so they can make me better. And I'm like, oh, all right. And then he went
already talking like a pro.
Yeah, he went way up my board when I started seeing how he practiced and how he was trying to. He was talking crazy stuff. He was trying to get them to fight him just because he wanted to get their best. And obviously, he was a maximizer day one. We started hearing great things about him when he hit campus. He put on weight immediately, and he was a 3-year player.
What's the trick with the stoic guys? There's always that great athlete that says one word at a time. What are you talking to mom and dad? Like, how are you even evaluating that? I guess.
Well, you hope he's the lead by example guy. You know, you'll pay attention to that. The teammates will tell you a lot. The coaches, especially if these kids are out of school where we go to every year. I got guys at Shadow Creek that are going to shoot me straight. You know, I mean, it's when we go to Duncanville every year, those coaches are not sure they're going to pump up some of their guys, but they'll shoot you straight. Or you can tell the way they talk about one guy is different than the other. So you can kind of understand the negative space, right? They're not telling you anything negative, but you can tell by what they're not telling you that they're saying a lot when they do that. It just kind of depends on the school. You know, a lot of these guys are coming from pipeline schools, and you know we're going to have somebody on the ground or a dad that's a dad of a player that's at Texas or something that's going to tell us everything we need to know or get us in touch with the right people. We do a lot of investigation on it because we want to really know. We want to know what is Texas like about this kid outside of the obvious tape. They're all ballers on tape. So what does Texas like about him? What do we need to know about him?
Yeah, I think the difference too is probably, like you said, pipeline schools, right? Like, why would Duncanville lie to you? Because they're going to have another 5-star coming up. There's they got 6 people. Now, if you go to a single A school that are like the coach wants to get guys in the NFL, he might sell you a little harder. But the guys that are putting guys in college all the time, they're like, yeah, he's good. Watch out for this freshman. It's kind of
Duncanville's a good example of, you know, we have like legit friends there on that staff at this point. They have some kids who just become close with people there. Yeah. And so that was the Duncanville guy was telling us, hey man, you guys are way too low on Landon Barnes, and we started investigating further, and sure enough, we agree, and you know, it looks like every other college in the country is starting to agree too.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, Duncanville. Shout out Kieran. Shout out you, Duncanville. All right, I think we're good, guys. This was a night. I like doing the holistic recruiting stuff so we can see big picture, and then of course, Coach Justin will hook us up with the details, with the real strategy and on the ground. And then, of course, go to Inside Texas right now, guys. A ton of elite camp stuff has been coming out. Justin's been holding it down. He was hanging out. So if you want to, like we said, see all the names, if you're obsessive like we are, go check out Inside Texas. You'll enjoy it. But for people that aren't as obsessive, this is your big overview on how Texas continues to acquire talent. And we're doing that at a high level. Yeah. Eric, thank you for battling your internet, dude. Like I said, happy birthday to the boy. Tell all the friends and family at the crib I said, what's up, Coach? Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day. And then chat, as always, you guys always crush it. This was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Peace.